Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. So good to see everybody here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. It is Sunday, February 11th. We're late in the day, almost on the other side of midnight, but I wanted to drop in to make sure I gave you some of the latest updates on day 128 of Israel's war on Gaza. I told you repeatedly that I'm going to cover this every single day, and I'm doing my best to do that. Every single day, I want to give you some updates, some information, some analysis that is being ignored or denied by corporate media, by mainstream media outlets. That's the work that we're doing. That's the info that we're trying to give out. So do me a favor and shout yourself out. Let me know where you're writing in from. I always love to hear that. Give me your name. If it's not in your handle, give me your location. Give me your city, your state, your country. I see Elizabeth Leah's writing in all the way from West Des Moines, not just Des Moines, but West Des Moines. I see my sister Ketiwe Zulu, who is often on here with me from South Africa. Again, special shout out and love to all my brothers and sisters in South Africa that have been doing this work. Will Islini from Mexico de Mexico. Ibn Himyari from, I don't, it doesn't say from where, but shout out to you. Shout out to Hooked on HD from the West Coast. So much love in the room. I got to shout out somebody who's an official Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel member, Michelle in Wash, often writing in as well. You family, we see you, we love you. So grateful for everyone's attention here tonight. And we're going to talk about the latest updates, and maybe I'll do a separate live talking about some of this Super Bowl stuff, man, because in the midst of the Super Bowl, shout out to you, Bullet the Bunny, you know, we're seeing more violence in not just in Gaza, but specifically in Rafa. We're specifically almost seeing, one could argue, the Super Bowl being used as a distraction from an active bombing that's taking place during the Super Bowl. More violence in Rafah. We see Israeli Super Bowl ads that are once again stunning, disappointing, but not really surprising. You know, to all the dads out there, you know, a kind of propaganda commentary, propaganda commercial that sympathizes with the dads who are I shouldn't use dad in quotes, but I'm using dad in quotes because I was quoting the commercial. They focus on the dads who have been kidnapped by Hamas. That's the point of it. So it's a commercial designed to give and garner sympathy for Israel, with no mention of the tens of thousands of Palestinians who've already died, and many more, unfortunately, will likely die if things continue the way they are. I'm going to give you a couple updates. Keep continuing to write in, and shout out again to everyone who dropped in a super sticker, a super chat, or any of the other generous donations that you made, also through the Cash App. I appreciate it. Let's talk about last night, or tonight even, however you want to think about it. 50 people have been killed in Israel, or by Israel, excuse me, through air and sea attacks that have occurred in Rafah. So again, for those who don't know, Rafah is the area in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. It's the area that people fled to. They fled there because they were told to flee there. People fled to Rafah because central Gaza at the time was being sort of evacuated because of the bombardment, and northern Gaza had already been cleared out and destroyed. And so Rafah, which is supposed to have maybe 250,000 people on a normal day, now has 1.2, 1.3 million people. And that overcrowding of Rafah is part of a deeper and bigger problem that we have to talk about, which is the creation of a humanitarian crisis, the creation of an impossible and unlivable circumstance in Rafah as part of a bigger project of depopulation, of ultimately clearing the Gaza Strip, as Israeli officials have been very articulate about, as our Israeli officials have been very clear about. They're going to do this. This is what we heard. This is what we've seen, and they've made no bones about it. And so this is all happening during the Super Bowl. The next phase of it, Mahmoud writes and says, "Give them bread and circuses so they won't revolt." I mean, this is not an unreasonable theory as to what's happening here. Israel's planned offensive on Rafa will, quote, blow up the captive exchange negotiations. That's according to a senior Hamas leader by Al Aqsa television channel. So let me be clear again. For the last week or two now, there have been talks of a ceasefire, or talks of an extended truce and an extended pause. Sometimes they're using that language as opposed to ceasefire so that they can look like they're not giving in. They want to look tough in warmongering. But ultimately, Israel and Hamas have been developing a strategy that right now seems to hinge upon a three-phase cessation of violence. And what's happening in Rafah is, from one perspective, an attempt to almost force Hamas and the Palestinian people's hand by saying, look, we're going to destroy this whole thing unless you give in, give us our hostages back, give us our captives back, give us our prisoners back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Hamas is saying something quite different. And I think they're right in this regard. You know, we can't have a ground offensive taking place in Rafah. We can't watch an expedited and intensified ethnic cleansing and genocide take place as we negotiate. Y'all need to stop. And the reason why this is important is because human rights organizations around the world, governments around the world, observers, independent observers around the world have said what's happening in Rafah is a crisis. And it's a crisis of epic proportion that will only intensify if a ground invasion happens in Rafah. You got over 1 million people with no homes, no food, no water, no safety, no shelter, no medical provision. And you have them jammed up in a place, and then you hit them by air, you hit them by sea, you hit them by land. And then you say, well, people can leave. They have the option of leaving. You want them to go to Gaza City, which is 20 kilometers, about a little over 8 miles north. How are you going to get there? So they've created an impossible situation, which is going to lead to some devastating outcomes. And that's what we have to talk about. We see Imogen and other people have talked about the idea of rescuing hostages from Rafah. I've seen some news headlines that say the idea of just rescue 2 hostages from Rafah. I don't think that's an irrelevant piece of information. The question, though, is where does that stand against the tens of thousands of people who have been killed by the IDF during the same cycle? I mean, this is the question we have to ask. President Joe Biden spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu and told him that a military ground assault would need a, quote, safety plan for the more than 1 million people sheltering in Rafah. So even Joe Biden, the other half of the Israel-America bromance, even America, which continues to send money and weapons, even America, which continues to protect Israel from any kind of international, legal, or diplomatic rebuke to the extent that they can, even America, even Joe Biden is like, yo, too far, and we need a plan of safety because this ain't it. When America says enough to Israel, you know it's too far. There's a shipment with a month's supply of food for Gaza, and it's currently being blocked in Israel's Ashdod port. That's according to Philippe Lazzarini, who's the head of UNRWA. He's saying that the food is there, the supplies are there, Israel won't let it in. This is a commonly stated concern or complaint. People continue to say that humanitarian aid, medicine, food, clothing, it's all being blocked. So this is something that, again, we must be mindful of. We have a couple other updates before I let y'all go. One is the death toll. Given all the numbers that we've seen, given all the info that we have access to, as of right now, in the last 24 hours, 112 Palestinians have been killed. Every night, I'm coming back with triple-digit killings. Every single night, I'm telling you this stuff. It's heartbreaking. That means the death toll, which I told you we would surpass 28,000 this weekend, is now at 28,176 people. 28,176 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. Also, 67,784 Palestinians have been wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza. The number of Palestinians who have been injured or killed combined is over 100,000. That's, again, a stunning number. And then you add the 8,000 people who are likely under the rubble, or who are under the rubble. You look at the number of women, the number of children, the number of unparented people, the number of buildings that have been crushed. You look at all the things. This is one of the most destructive, one of the most thorough acts of depopulation and genocide and state-sanctioned violence that I've ever seen in my lifetime. So that is the basic update. We're going to continue to cover this because so much more is happening. But at the core, the takeaway from this is Rafa is under assault. It's only going to continue to get worse. The humanitarian disaster is only going to intensify until we do something. This can be stopped. This will be stopped. But as the people awaken, it'll become more obvious how to stop it. But this is a tough place to be. Anyway, family, I'm not going to keep you all a lot late tonight because it's already the end of the night, but I wanted to at least shout y'all out and let you know what's at stake right now. Everybody, hit the like button if you feel what we're doing over here. If you want more updates like this, hit the like button and also hit the subscribe button. Even click the bell so you can find out when I'm going to put out new content like this. But please, everybody, let us get these updates, but also transfer these updates into action. Translate these theories into practice. That's what it's about. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the join button if you're so inclined. I would love for at least one person tonight who's out here right now to join the channel. Hit the join button. No membership level is too low or too small. We just want people who are dedicated on a monthly basis to supporting the channel, even if it's just $4 a month. So we absolutely appreciate that. And if you're so inclined, you can also just hit Cash App. Drop us anything you want on MLH TV, $ MLH TV. $1 is fine. It just helps us build and expand and grow the channel. But at the end of the day, y'all, it's not about the money. It's not about the videos. It's not about the content. It's not about the YouTube. It's not about social media. It's about ultimately doing something to strike a blow for freedom and justice in this country. Hopefully that vision and that energy translates internationally. And so ultimately, that's where we end up. A movement that is focused on our local conditions and our local communities, but also has an internationalist analysis and vision moving forward. Anyway, family, I love y'all. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.